In today's video, we are going to be tackling what if your tenant refuses to pay rent. Have you ever been in that situation? Type yes or no down for me in the comments so that I can hear from you as well. You see, I've been in that situation and it's been so frustrating. However, there's so many bumps along the road that I'd learned from that right now today there's just one simple solution that we use to tackle when tenants don't pay rent. And if you stay until the end of the video, you are going to learn what I have learned over time, and you may just be enticed to use the same very method. So welcome, my name is Genevieve Stafford Jack. The subject that we're tackling today is what if your tenant doesn't pay rent. You see, when I first got my 2-bed 1-bath, Just Letting was the management company. They used all their documentation and I just pitched up and signed wherever they asked me to sign. And this was prior to property investing education. And I went along with it. But because them as a company frustrated me, that every time they collected rent and there was delinquencies and there was all sorts of stuff, I felt like no one had my back. I just felt like it was a money collecting exercise. So what did I do? I cancelled their services. I went on to download a lease agreement off the website, or whichever website it was, God alone knows. Because have you been in that situation? You go online, you download it, as long as it says South Africa, you download it and you think it's actually working, and some people don't even notice it's not in South Africa, some of the lease agreements that are available, and they go on to use it. And there's all sorts of law and things like that that does not even apply in South Africa in those lease agreements. What an epic fail. I've been there. I know how it hurts. Then what I went on to do was I had this bright idea. I'm going to go to CNA, because at the end of the day, there's multiple in this little booklet that I bought. And surely this should be fine because CNA sells it. They're a stationery store, right? Have you felt that way? Have you felt that way? I want to hear your confessions down below. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to buy this lease agreement. I purchased it. Also, floored from here to Timbuktu and back. But ultimately, when we got into property investing, we got the education, we were introduced to TPN. TPN doesn't pay me to share anything about them. I've just had really, really good experiences within the TPN space and the purchases that we've made. You see, on TPN, the lease agreement packs for the different types of property, for example, commercial property or residential property, there are lease agreements that are applicable for these different strategies, right? And in these, this is where I found that the TPN is in partnership with a number of attorneys that look after the processes behind the lease agreement. And what was fascinating for me is that SSLR, I will put their link down below or on the screen right here. They are the ones that nurture this particular lease agreement. And I've gotten to know over time that Silna, and she's become really a good friend and trusted friend to me, but a brilliant attorney that deals in evictions and all sorts of stuff. So if my thinking is this, if this attorney who deals with evictions, she's got a process in order for evictions, so she helps with all of the setting up in the lease agreement so that you as a landlord are protected. And for me, that's what I found, that using the right lease agreement can literally separate you and put you apart from other landlords, because this particular one that we purchased off TPN is written by lawyers. So I found that really helps, because here's an example of what you can put in there. You can say, addressing the topic of today, if your tenant refuses to pay rent. In your lease agreement, you could stipulate that if the tenant does not pay on the date of rent, say for example, the last day of every month, they can be marked as a slow payer on ITC, which is the credit bureau, by the 3rd of the month. And that for me was mind-blowing. I was like, what? You've got to be kidding me. I didn't even know this exists, right? And there are a number of clauses within this particular lease agreement that really helps you as a newbie. You may be asking me, okay, so you've spoken and you've shared with us about your lesson and how you've done this going forward. What if I am in the dwang already? What if I've got this tenant right now in my house? What do I do? What we have done is, even though we've got all these things in place, during this pandemic, there are people that have been in true situations. However, there are tenants that have also misused the situation, right? What we have done is the simplest thing. We sat down and we had a conversation. I can already see it. You're probably saying, oh no, Jen, I've already had a conversation. I'm out of this video. But if you wait just one more minute, here we are going to with this one. We've sat down and we have had conversations, and the agreement from that conversation, we've then ended saying, what we will do is what we've agreed here today. We are going to put it on paper, and I'm going to send it to you within the next 24 hours to sign, because this is a legal agreement that we've put together. And we're going to sign it so that we know the commitment that we've made with each other. And I have found 9 out of 10 times when you sit down and you have that conversation and then you share with your tenant, I'm translating our conversation onto paper. The ones that are dodgy will twitch. They will like kind of, but really, is it necessary? You look, guys, the reality of life is you are running a property business, right? I have been in situations where I have felt so sorry. My heart was out there and people walked all over my heart and literally spoiled the chances for the next tenant to try and take advantage of me, or even spoil the chances for the next tenant who genuinely was in a situation and could not pay. They could not pay, but some people just blatantly refuse, right? And so if you're in a situation where you say, I've done talking, Jen, maybe try and put it on paper. See what happens, right? And then the next thing you can do is address the lease agreement. What in that lease agreement can hold you in good stead on your next steps to actually saying, you know what, tenant, time out for you. I would encourage you to go the legal way, because when our emotions are high, our intelligence is low, and we end up doing crooked things, just like some of the tenants that we feel they've put us in that situation. But truth be told, it's just a lack of knowledge that we got into that situation. Some parts of me felt like, how was I supposed to know that in the lease agreement you could put X, Y, and Z? And when we don't know what we don't know, we can take it on the chin. But now that we know, could you go back and address what your current lease agreement says? And now when you come to the end of that lease agreement, could you get the right lease agreement that can literally help you through any other process moving forward? I mean, think about it. An attorney manages that lease agreement. That's how important it is. So I trust that in today's video, you have found some of the tidbits that will help you understand on when your tenant refuses to pay rent, what can you do? Can you go and have that conversation with them, translate that conversation, or can you start addressing what your lease agreement says so that you can take them to task? So that is us for today in this particular video of addressing if the tenant refuses to pay rent, and I trust that you have learned and taken from here. Take good care and see you in the next episode.